Hello, everyone. Sneak peek into our sizzle there. So while you're putting your headphones on, I want to introduce myself. My name is Lucy Luke, and I head up content partnerships at Snapchat in the UK. And what that means is I work with some incredible content creators across our Snap stars, our media publishers, who are the likes of BBC, etc. So before we get into the creator economy and my stellar panel, I wanted to give you a sneak peek of what some of our Snap stars or creators are doing on Snapchat.
So you think you know Snap?
I'll try that again.
Back.
So you think you know Snap? So you think you know Snapchat?
And again.
Let's show you how.
Let's keep pausing.
Okay, so you think you know Snapchat. We might come on to that in a few minutes. So let me introduce you to my wonderful panel. So I'm joined by Luke Barnes, the EMEA president at Influencer, and a great expert in how to connect brands and creators. Previously to Influencer, Luke was the Chief Revenue and Digital Officer at Vice Media Group. I am also joined by Florence, aka Glam by Flo. Document that, all start following her on Snapchat. She is best known for her relatable lifestyle content and makeup tutorials. She is also building a huge audience through Snapchat and works with brands on a day-to-day basis. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
So Flo, I'm going to come to you first. Everyone here would love to know, how did you start out as a content creator?
Well, so I started content creating when I was 14, so 8 years ago. And I got really lucky, actually, that my very first video that I ever posted got seen and reposted by Huda Beauty. And so I got so lucky. I gained thousands of followers overnight, and it kind of grew from there. And now I create all sorts of types of content, beauty, lifestyle, sprinkling of comedy. It's good fun.
So you were really thrown into it because you were discovered on another platform. But now you are a Snap star as well. You're on Snapstar. And for those of you that don't know what a Snap star is, that basically is a content creator who is verified on the platform. And on a day-to-day basis, they're posting lots of stories of their everyday lives as well as short videos. So when it comes to your content, what do you think draws people into the content you're posting?
Well, I feel like people feel like they have sort of grown up with me. Just because I started so long, they've always kind of seen me about, even if they don't always watch my content. And so I think they relate to me while also respecting my opinion, especially when it comes to beauty products, because that's kind of my main focus. They feel like they can trust what I'm saying and doing while also feeling like I'm a friend to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually, when we were walking into the building, a little bit lost, I have to say, we were walking in and we walked past a load of, I guess, school kids, teenagers, and they're like, oh my God, there's that famous person which is wild to me because I'm not in that world. But it's lovely because you immediately said to us two, oh, I didn't say hello, and you're so relatable and you have a real connection with them. So,
Thank you.
Yeah. But you don't see yourself as famous, per se.
No, that feels really weird. Hearing that was, it's always strange hearing that kind of thing. Because you don't feel like you're talking to an audience, you feel like you're talking to friends, especially on Snapchat. That's what's so kind of nice about it, is it feels like it's all your friends that you're chatting to. Yeah.
And I like to think everyone here has downloaded Snapchat and understands the app inside and out. But, Flo, a lot of what you post is stories where it's kind of a snapshot of your everyday life. You feel like you can share a bit more behind the scenes, right, of what you're up to.
That's the best thing about Snapchat, is it does just feel like I think of it as a private story. It's like where I post anything and everything, stuff that's unfiltered, not edited. It's just me, and that's what's so fun about it.
So Luke, back in 2015, we've been working together on and off for a long time, but back in 2015 on Snapchat, you were one of our first Discover partners, and through Vice you were posting videos that were episodic. They could be monetized through ad revenue. But obviously over the years, we've evolved, and now we have Snap stars like Flo able to reach an audience and build a business. So how has the app really changed for you and how you work with content on the platform?
So I mean, I guess the interesting thing about that evolution, if you go back to 2015 for a second, the challenge that I think Snap and Vice, whereas at the time were looking to solve, was much more fundamental than what we have today, I guess, which is that Snap, the context that Snap had created, i.e. the introduction of stories as a format into kind of like, the world of social media, was something that at that point advertisers did not understand. Like, they did not know how to make video that way round, right?
Yeah,
they understood what like kind of mobile advertising was and putting video on mobile, but they didn't understand that there was a new context which was consuming video on your phone in a very lean-in, kind of sound-on experience. That wasn't something they were used to. So I think what was really smart about the way that Snapchat approached trying to get over that problem was engaging with people that knew how to create the best content for that context, right? So Vice was one of those, many others were part of that. Fast forward nearly 10 years, the context has completely changed. I would say that, the relevance of certain publishing brands it has its place, but it's kind of diminishing in various social platforms, including Snap, and the creators that are effectively kind of changing that context are really going to be what's driving the future of those opportunities, right? And I think that, going back to that word context, we're now at a point where consuming content from creators that you don't know them personally, still feels really relatable. To go back to what you were saying about, like, even for you, on the other side of the camera, you feel like you're talking to your friends.
Yeah.
Audiences feel like they're listening to their friends, even though they're not their friends. So there's a new context there, right? So what opportunities does that create? Well, first of all, for creators, obviously there's the whole creator economy thing, which is a fairly big context. But within Snapchat on its own, I would say that it is unique in the context that it creates, that a content creator like you, Flo, can sit there actually saying that this feels like I'm talking to my friends or family. It's a really unique context for you to create connections with an audience, and both creatively but also from a monetization angle, right? Because it gives you an opportunity to do something you wouldn't necessarily do elsewhere.
Yeah.
But then for brands, which is where I think it's even more interesting potentially, it's that, for brands, it's really about, I think in today's kind of marketing economy, it's about how do you access communities at scale? That's what all brands are trying to do.
Yeah.
So different contexts of different platforms will allow brands the opportunity to do that, essentially. So Snapchat putting in the time, resource, and investment into building out its Snapstar Collab Studio offering with partners like us is a really key part of that.
Yeah. And for those people that don't know what Snapstar Collab Studio is, I have to say Influencer is a partner of ours on this product. Can you say in a short sentence what Snapstar Collab Studio is?
In a short sentence, I didn't prep one. But look, Snapstar Collab Studio is just a shortcut to brands looking to kind of integrate with Snapchat through creators, through Snapstars. But I think it's so much more than that, in the sense that really Snapchat is a world of opportunity when it comes to the creator economy, because it's not fully tapped yet.
Yeah.
There's so much opportunity there. So that's why we're very excited, because we can help brands do things that are more interesting, different, unique to drive cut-through.
Yeah. And Flo, obviously you are working on some other platforms as well. You are doing lots of content on a day-to-day basis. How do you decide what comes on Snapchat and what goes on to, say, a different platform?
Yeah. The thing, as I've said before, that I just love so much about Snap is how authentic and natural and unedited it is. So I will still share content that I've posted on other platforms on Snapchat, so people can see the more, edited and pretty stuff. But I try not to overthink it too much. I just go, almost if I have a thought that I think anyone might be interested in, I post it. And on other platforms, it's almost the opposite. Every time I have a thought, I think, what actually is interesting in this, and cut it down as much as possible and make it really snappy. Snapchat, funnily enough, isn't about that. It's about just whatever you want, whatever you think might be valuable to anybody, and posting it. So I do a mix of the kind of the pretty and the perfect, but I also make sure that the majority of it is natural, authentic, a bit messy sometimes.
Yeah.
Casual.
Yeah, and on a day-to-day basis, creators on Snap are uploading quite a large volume. You know, some are up to 100 stories a day. But the beauty of it is the mix of photos and videos, you can really get to that volume quite quickly. And crucially, you can now monetize through adverts appearing within those stories. So taking a step back again, Luke, I know I keep taking you back to 2015. We're really not that old in this. But I would love you to give some advice or direction to maybe some of the brands in this room that might want to find creators to collaborate with.
Okay. So I guess when you're looking for creators to collaborate with, and it's an easy mistake to make, right? It's all about context and what you're trying to drive in terms of outcome, I think, first of all, because that dramatically affects the approach you should take, right? And we spend a lot of time talking to brands about the sales funnel and whereabouts on the sales funnel you want to be with your campaign. And more, you have clients saying, well, this is a full funnel campaign, which is both really, really helpful and really, really unhelpful at the same time, because that means you want to achieve everything. And funny enough, you can't optimize for everything. It's not possible, right? So I think that the way that we look at it is whether it's full funnel or part of the funnel. Like if you're talking about finding creators to drive awareness like outcomes, you could argue that's slightly easier from a discoverability perspective. You can take a much more scientific approach. If you're looking to drive a high amount of video views with a particular audience, you can do a lot more technical filtering, right? And just look for, you can start with the numbers, right? I want creators to drive a large amount of views with this audience. Then you can figure out, are they a good fit with my brand? Do they fit with the creative concept that we're driving in this campaign? So that can be a bit easier. The challenge, though, I think, comes when you're either working more full funnel or towards the bottom end of the funnel, which is where I think you need to take a much, much more in-depth approach. And there's lots of interesting ideas that we've piloted and worked on with different brands. One that sticks out to me, it's a stat I heard from somebody at Creator IQ, which is a creator discovery platform, those of you who aren't familiar with it, which is that for FTSE 500 brands, approximately 80% of kind of social influencer conversation about their brand is not paid for.
Okay.
So the vast majority is not paid for. It's organic, right? That's a really good place to start looking for people you should collaborate with.
Yeah.
Who's talking about me that I don't know about, right? So if you want to drive those lower funnel purchase or consideration type outcomes, think about taking a look at who you should work with rather than try and second guess it. Yeah. I think is always a good idea. But then I think, like more broadly speaking, the job of selecting creators is one that is really very, very broad and really depends on what you're trying to achieve more generally.
Yeah. And you must find this a lot as well, Flo, given the amount of brands that might approach you directly to work with you. So what considerations do you bring in when you think, I want to work with that brand?
Yeah. It's definitely good to be picky, because as soon as you're just chucking everything out there, people lose that relatability to you. So what I always like to think is, would I recommend this to a friend or to my friends? Yeah. And I think if I can see myself doing that, if it's something that I authentically use and authentically, want to talk about, then that just makes the most sense. And because I do feel like I am speaking to friends, then creating the content is even more authentic, because there's no kind of, look at this, buy this. It's like, this is really good, I use this, I love this, and I want to show it to you,
Yeah. And obviously you're meeting lots of other Snap stars and creators, and you're building a community of other, I guess, influencers that you might want to collaborate with. Would you ever bring them to a brand as well and say, hey, I love this concept?
Yeah.
How about, does that work for you?
I'd never thought of that, but it does make so much sense, especially if people see you interacting with people in real life, because so often it's just you through the screen. If you were to collaborate with two people on a deal as well, that could work really well too. I hadn't thought of that, but...
Oh, there you go. There's some tips for the future. So speaking of the future, coming to both of you actually, so for you, Luke, what do you see the future of Snapchat? So you're going to give me some tips here, of Snapchat in the context of the UK creator economy. What can we do or brands do to best leverage their brand on the platform?
Well, if we're talking about the short term, I think we're in big experimentation phase, which is the best bit, right? I think like the launch of the Snapstar Collab Studio, we've started our first partnership with you and a brand which I don't know if I can mention, so I won't. Last week, It's really exciting. We're trying new things. Even for our team at Influencing, there's 130 of us globally. We're all learning about how to be creative with Snapchat from a creative perspective, which is something that we had not done at that degree before. So I think there's a big experimentation phase going on now, which is really exciting. I think hopefully that will shape both, our business, but also Snapchat's story as it relates to building deeper relationships with creators and integrating them into the advertising ecosystem.
Yeah.
Longer term, I'll let you answer that one.
I think that Snapchat and marketing on Snapchat is like a huge, I know some brands are tapping into it now, but I think it's such a huge opportunity because it's so unlike other platforms in its kind of authenticity. And I think where possible, if I were to give one tip for brands wanting to market on Snapchat, that would be to let, as much as possible, have the creator have as much creative freedom as you can, because as soon as somebody starts hearing that almost like add language and add tone in your voice, they're kind of like, oh great, no, don't want to watch this, whereas and that's often the tone on other platforms, but on Snapchat, because it's so natural, really tapping into that authenticity and natural tone will, I think, really work in ways that it doesn't necessarily on other platforms.
Because not many people may know that we don't share, public comments or likes, so a lot of our creators feel quite comfortable giving that snapshots, excuse the term, of the...
It's just not numbers-based in ways that pretty much every other platform is, which takes so much pressure off the creator and just makes them want to create content which feels the most natural.
Yeah. And I just have one more question for you about your community on Snap, because I know that you've been on for a while and you're still getting to know your community. Not many people know here, but 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds are on Snapchat. So there's quite a young audience, but also we have a sort of older demographic as well that have grown up with the app. Do you see that mix in the community on your platform, or you on your community on Snap? Or?
I don't know. I feel like, honestly, it's like talking, it really is like talking to friends. Like, my audience is so lovely all the time, and I can't really figure out age groups or types of people on there. It's just an audience that are all enjoying a type of content they haven't necessarily seen before. So it feels like there is a community, even though, as well, people who comment on your sort of stories, for example, don't see other people's comments, so they're not even aware of what everyone else is saying. But everyone seems to have this same tone of just being like, this is refreshing, this is new, I want to see this and keep seeing this, like keep going, which is so lovely.
We were just talking about how busy the summer is, and one of the brilliant things on Snap and other platforms as well is we have a lot of cultural moments. We have the Euros, an election, Glastonbury. So I've got some quick fire questions. So I've got some tickets, Flo. If I had centre court tickets for Wimbledon or Glasgow, which one would you go for?
Glasgow.
Some great content.
Never
there.
been, but it looks great.
And Luke, for you, Taylor Swift tickets or the Euros final?
Euros final.
Euros final.
No!
Okay, great. And finally, before we finish, what's next for you in the coming... I mean, obviously, Glastonbury's been, potentially Wimbledon, but what's next for you in the coming months? Have you got any exciting projects coming up? Or
lots of travel, hopefully lots of sun, which is really nice. And I need to get more into the process of just posting everything on Snapchat, because I've been so used to other platforms for so long that the kind of, no, this isn't perfect, or this isn't, curated enough. I need to just get rid of that mentality and just keep posting more on Snapchat, and hopefully with everything that I've got coming up, trips and events and all that kind of thing, there'll be lots to talk about. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Come and speak to us afterwards if you have any questions. But a big round of applause for Luke Barnes and Glam by Flo.
Great.